Salutations and shit, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Travel and Shit, where I, your host, D. Carey, have an experiential conversation about the nuanced ways that travel intersects with regular life. So, as I have detailed for you in last week's episode, I have a Substack available to you that gets into the background, the nuance, if you will, the context of each episode. So please do yourself the favor of jumping into that, giving my writings and musings a little view, a little look see, if you will, and get a feel for why I went to New England. I would love if you would check that out. The link to the Substack will be in the description box below. And with that little tidbit of information in terms of background, I'm going to dive right in. And I would be remiss if I didn't let you know that what was also coming up was a special trick or treat for you guys that I will get into at the end of the episode. To begin, took a road trip while I was home over the end of the summer, during that break that I took where I was re-releasing episodes that I am so very proud of that you guys should check out. I am so very proud of having 300 episodes, and there's some bangers. There are some bangers. So if you're new here, welcome. Dive into some of the old catalog. There is a little something for everyone. But this most recent road trip, we went to New England, and it is now, I want to say we have updated our 20%. We have seen 20% of this country. I believe that we have done, in terms of the states that we have visited together, I think we visited like 20 states together over the course of 4 years. So super excited about that because I low key, and I say low key because it's not something that I have like actively mapped out and planned over the next like 4 years of my life. I'll be, so much more closer to visiting all 50. I would love to visit all 50 states. I just don't have like a hardcore stamped on the plan of action, if you will, to visit said states. We're just accumulating them as we go. But I am very excited to, at some point, visit all 50 states. So at this point, we've done 20. And over the last road trip, we covered, was it 6 states? Let me see. I think I wrote it down. It was a total of, nope, it was 7 cities. So that makes 4 different states. We did 7 cities and 4 states. And we started out in Rhode Island. Now, Rhode Island was, actually, let me scale it back a bit. This road trip was specifically designed also so that we had rest stops along the way. So like, I feel like we did this all in the span of a week. Let me pull up Le Calendar. We left. That was birthday. Let me see. Did I write this down even? Yes, Salem. So we got to Salem from the 4th of October to the 10th. We were back in the house. We checked into our first Airbnb on the 4th, and we checked out and returned home on the 10th. So that's only 6 days. And we did like almost a city a day. And I say that to say that might sound crazy, but the way we did the trip and the way we spread ourselves out throughout the ascent to Maine worked out nicely so that nothing was taxing or overbearing or made us feel like we needed to get the fuck out the car. So we started in Rhode Island. So shout out to my brother. He was a fellow at Brown and finished his PhD in pathobiology. So shout out to my smart black man. So we stopped in Rhode Island to visit him. And we did lunch at a spot called Kin out in Providence. And the food was mad good and the customer service top tier. Music was also good. Black owned restaurant. Highly recommend. And because my brother has lived out there for maybe like 5 years, actually maybe a little bit longer. I feel like he's been in Providence for maybe like 6 years. I think he's been out there for about 6 years because he also did not undergrad, but his master's, his that course of study as well. So I am looking forward to a couple more recommendations for you guys in Rhode Island in the near future. There's also this Indian restaurant that's out there. I gotta ask him what the name of that was, but that shit was good too. But I digress. So that was the first stop, and Rhode Island is about actually Providence is exactly like 3 hours from where I'm at in New York. I'm in Queens. Um, let's say JFK. So it's about 3 hours to the dot to get to Providence. And so we stopped there first to just, take a little break, grab something to eat. And that was it. Kept it pushing. So we stopped in Rhode Island, state one. Then we landed ourselves in Salem. Now, let me tell y'all something. I have always been a fan of the occult, and it is more detailed, and I had actually a lot more fun writing it than I expected to. But I get into a little more detail into my affection and my love of witches and the things spooky in the Substack. So check that out. But I have always wanted to visit Salem, like always. Salem witch trials. I'm also a big history fan. I loved history in school, was probably, it would tap dance between science and history as my favorite subjects. And as the science progressively got harder, I obviously preferred history because a story, I love a good fucking story. And so hearing the stories in school about the Salem witch trials, also all of my own particular interests and I guess you can say, what's a good way to put it? I absolutely was not like, I loved all things like fantasy, if you will, and witches were just in alignment with that. But always been my thing, the crucible, all the shit that you go through and you talk about in school and all that. So I always wanted to visit. And also it was right fucking there. Like I knew Salem wasn't far. So it was something that was always like right at my fingertips, and finally got to visit. And surprisingly, but not surprisingly because it's me, I didn't have anything planned. I knew that I wanted to do two things in particular. That was some witchy shit and do like a tour of the different places in the city that had historical significance throughout the Salem witch trials. And I knew that I also wanted to visit some of the, what do you call those things? For Hocus Pocus. Hocus Pocus is one of my favorite movies. I actually named my dog after the cat, Thackeray Binks, which was one of my favorite characters in the movie. No shame. And that's where that's where I got my dog's name from. I just thought Binksy was a little bit more feminine. So, and it's so wild because I feel like Binksy is such a tomboy like me. So like Dana is a very, non-gender conforming boy girl, and so I feel like Binksy has thoroughly made Binks or Binksy a very non-gender conforming name. But this is my thought process. Anywho, definitely wanted to visit some of the film locations. I guess, what do you call them? Not film locations, but I guess filming locations, places that they filmed the fucking movie. Definitely wanted to visit those things. So I opted, instead of booking a guided walking tour by an actual person, I opted for a self-guided tour that I purchased from Expedia. And I tell you that I choose the non like local option. I generally prefer to do things with locals. It's always a good fucking time. The reason why I opted not to do that, because most of those tours started at like 7 or 8 p.m. Maybe I'm done with the day. I don't want to begin something at that hour, especially not at night. It was much cold. It's kind of fall. It's fall. So it was definitely getting colder as the sun went down. And I, I also just didn't really want to be part of like a large group of obviously tourist folk in city center. So I opted for the self guided option. I also like being able to move at my own pace. If I want to stop and read plaques more, if I'm not interested in something in particular and I want to move the fuck on, I don't got to wait for the group. I don't have to wait for the adult in charge to say, now we can go. I'm the adult in charge. It's my money. It's my time, my vacation. I want to move when I want to move, and I want to spend time on the things that I specifically am interested in. So I opted for that option and loved it. That will be available to you guys. Let me make sure I drop this open. Oh, and our Airbnb was so cute. It would be a 10 out of 10, and I give it like a 9.75 only because the couch in that bitch, disgusting. Refuse to sit on it. Visible stain, like it was a couch like from a frat house. Everything else about that Airbnb was perfection and absolutely clean, well finished, well decorated. The vibe was chill in a beautiful home, really nice area. You could even walk down to the water, not far from where the Airbnb, like everything about that apartment was the bed was well, there were two beds. The bed was mad comfortable because it was a 2 bedroom. There is a back deck. You have to like go down a flight of stairs, but it is, I want to say, unique to the third floor. It's a third floor walk up, and the stairs like kind of twist and turn. So, plot twist, if you decide to stay there, I'm an advocate for overpacking, especially when it's a road trip, but just consider that you're going to have to get your shit up there. So, something to note. But the apartment was immaculate, except for that fucking couch. I really just want them. And, like, given the detail that they paid to everything else, even like the, what do you call it? The dishes, like the dishes were even nice, all of the attention to having things available to us in the unit leads me to believe that they will update that couch like in the near future. I can't, and mind you, the owners live in the house downstairs. It's 3 floors. They live someplace. I don't know if they're on the first 2 floors, first floor. Don't fucking know. Don't care. But when we got there, they were having an issue with a pipe. Something needed to be replaced. They were so communicative. They let us know what was going at every step of the way without being like annoying, and without being asked, gave us a partial refund on the listing because we didn't have water until like super late on the day that we arrived. And I feel like we got there relatively late, maybe like 8, 9 o'clock anyway. But I feel like by 10, 11 o'clock, we had water. So much respect and appreciation for them, because people being people, you feel me? Like treating people the way you would want to be treated should you have taken a long ass drive and then got someplace and was met with not what you paid for. And that exact same thing happened in Toronto, completely different experience. I would never recommend that Airbnb. Shit on them, but this Salem property, cream of the crop. Appreciate them very much, and respect hosts who actually respect their guests in the extent that they also respect my fucking money. Shout out to them people. So the creepy vibe actually delivered. We got there the first night, and we're walkers. We love a good exploratory journey to just see what the fuck is going on around us. So went for a walk when we first got there, and not gonna hold y'all, it was giving the energy I expected. Something about it just felt like an air of not necessarily being watched because the streets were mostly dead. It wasn't really anybody out. I think we may have come across five people, five people. And I'd say we walked maybe like a mile. You know what I mean? Maybe a little more, maybe like 15 minutes one way and maybe another 15 minutes the other way. We were probably outside for no more than probably an hour or so. Just a nice little walk to see what the fuck is going on. And it kind of initially, I didn't bring it up to him, to my partner, in a sense of, babe, I'm scared, let's go. I didn't bring it up at all because I knew it would be a me thing. But I could feel the energy that was, and it wasn't necessarily bad energy. It wasn't necessarily good energy. It was noticeable energy. And being that I go surreal, believe what you want, in my world, go surreal. And so I respect resting places. I respect you and your energy because I don't, like, I'm still here. You feel me? I got free will and agency and can kind of move and go as I please. And the particular lore of ghosts that I subscribe to doesn't really allow for such. So, that being the case, I try to be very respectful in places where I know that I can expect a heightened uptick in that type of supernatural energy. And with all the killing and horrible shit they did to people in Salem, absolutely would expect that there. Kind of like when you go to New Orleans and you kind of get that, like, ooh, okay, I'm feeling it here. Definitely felt it in Salem. And I will say, I felt it more heavily in Salem. And to me, listen to me here, I think that is, it's a black thing, right? I feel like the energy in New Orleans, like that tense, that the suffering that was experienced there is not uniquely um oh, there's a word in between there that I'm looking for before the next word I want to say. But like the pain in New Orleans isn't like unique to the black experience, but I think historically, if we are looking at the history of New Orleans, that's black pain, baby. That's black pain. Salem, those are white ghosts. And so it kind of falls in alignment with, I personally don't ever feel um, the anticipation of a threat when I am going to go into spaces where um, the primary suffering was experienced by people that looked like me, or just the well known suffering, because people suffer everywhere. Let's be clear about that, right? But New Orleans is in Louisiana, it's a southern state. Slavery. It's not, those aren't hard dots to connect, or even far dots to connect. Salem, Massachusetts, Salem witch trial. Not to say that black folks ain't been suffering in Salem. However, the gravity of that was absolutely felt. And I realized I was feeling it the way, not the way I expected to, but it was on the back of my mind. And it was just like, oh, okay. So it wasn't, I don't think it was like a self-fulfilling kind of thing. That's what I'm trying to get at. I don't think I thought this up, but it kind of felt like a, who's that? Like just a, you know what I mean? Like that's the energy that I was getting when we were walking around that first night. I just felt like I had eyes on me. I just felt as if people noticed we were walking around without there really being people there. Okay. Um, so That's what I was getting. It wasn't giving like get back in the car and drive away. It wasn't giving go back to the Airbnb, don't leave again. It wasn't that. I just realized that I could feel like I was specifically being noticed in those spaces. And I just felt like it was kind of like heavy in certain pockets. Like you go down certain streets and certain little areas, it's like, okay. Looking at like what's going on in this yard, what's going on in the peripheral, what I just felt very aware of what was going on around me, but not in a fashion of people. Like I wasn't worried about somebody necessarily running up on us to rob us. I was more worried about something happening that we may not be able to explain. That's me. And that's how I felt about the situation. Next day was fine. Daytime, fine. Next evening, fine also. But it was like oh, so you're here. Who are you? That's it. So that first night was a little ooh for me. And shout out to the creepy vibe delivered. Sadly, I will say that the colors did not change as much prior or like while we were there. We were there early October. So I was really hoping for, some fall foliage on the drive up, giving some of the yellows and the reds and the oranges. And we saw it in some areas, but it wasn't like a very, crisp fall drive that I was hoping for. But global warming, it has many effects. So I also got a tattoo. I don't know if you will be able to see it in the YouTubes, but which way are we rotating here? I'll do it better. I'll do something on like social media or something. But I love this tattoo. We got it done. I want to say at Studio 13. I believe the tattoo artist's name was Mike. There we go. Was Michael. I got a little astronaut on like a cloud, and he is right up against the moon, and he is, I guess, paddling his cloud with a witch's broom. It's a little reminder to my grandma used to always tell me, shoot for the stars. So even if you fall short, you land amongst, no, what was it? Shoot for the moon. So even if you fall short, you land amongst the stars kind of thing. And so my little astronaut, because I've always been a space cadet, my little astronaut is amongst the moon. He landed amongst the stars or to the moon or whatever, but he uses magic to get there because he's using a witch's broom. So love my tattoo. Very happy with that. After we left Salem, we were there for 2 nights. We did the food in Salem. I cannot really fairly report on. We only had one meal because we had leftovers from the Rhode Island stop. And so we killed those on the first night. We ended up going to, we may have had like some junk or like more leftovers that, because again, road trip, you can bring what you want with you. But I know we only had like one meal in Salem, and I was really looking forward to some finger licking seafood. I think I ordered scallops and was so fucking disappointed. When I tell you my man perfected scallops for me, he perfected scallops. And I have probably only had scallops maybe, and I'm being generous here, maybe twice that are as good as his scallops. And twice is being generous. Twice is assuming I've forgotten one because I'm thinking of one time when I do remember them being as good as his. So that to say, I don't got much of anything to say in the way of food from Salem, except for that one meal that I had. The food wasn't bad. It just left a lot to be desired for me. I live a great life. My man's a fantastic cook. So after we did Salem, again, 2 nights, we left on, let's just say, Friday, and we drove to New Hampshire. Now, New Hampshire was for the lovers. This New Hampshire stop is for the lovers because we really only wanted to stop there just to, again, break up the drive. I feel like where we were was only like 2 hours from Salem. We ended up going to what's it called? I'm gonna give you guys the name of the actual city, Northampton. It's in Northampton, New Hampshire. And my lover found me a garden. I love flowers, love them. And we wanted to visit New Hampshire. Neither of us have ever been to New Hampshire. And we were going to just stop there, grab some lunch, and then make our way the rest of the way to Portland in Maine. And lo and behold, my man found me a garden. He found me a garden in this stately coastal little town. And when I say coastal, it's like right on the water. You drive up along the water and you've got like these massive estates along. Well, they're, depending, like when you first come in, there are some homes on the right, like right on the beach. But then as you go further down, like the homes go on the other side of the road, just a bit further from the coast, but still like right on the water. Like the only thing stopping you from being in the water is your lawn, and then the road, just 2 lanes, and the rocks. But he found the most gorgeous garden, Fuller Gardens, and turns out the guy, Fuller, his full name will be someplace, but he was the former governor of Massachusetts, I believe. My man created a garden for his baby, and by his baby, his wife, um, Viola. I know her name is Viola, but I want to say it was like 1930s or so. They started it, and then at a certain point, he was like, "Let's zhuzh it up a bit," and they added even more. There's a Japanese garden in there. It's massive. This long money motherfucker ended up having his estate. This was the summer home, mind you. They had that, and he also had many other political seats, like political jobs, if you will, other than just being the governor. He did mad shit for the state, but they they took down the house. The only thing that really stands is the carriage house, which is probably still like 3,500 square feet. The shit is huge, but it's just the carriage house. But that's where the groundskeeper, the gardener, I don't know if there is a more respectful name for someone that puts in all of the work that it takes to maintain all of that. There's even a greenhouse on the property. It's absolutely gorgeous, y'all. There are like 3 separate sections. There's like thousands of different types of roses in one area. Then you've got the greenhouse in the back that's got like your tropical plants and like your succulents and stuff. And then you go through like a Japanese garden that's got like a bunch of really dope trees and other cool shit. And then you go into, it's not technically a maze, but there are some larger hedges that you can kind of walk through. And it also has um a variety of other types of flowers, but also a bunch of different roses. It's absolutely gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. I think it's like $10 a person. And I think her name was Carol, but like she's giving very rich stay at home woman who just wants something to do in her free town and decided to give back to the community. She had this gorgeous rock. I feel like her name was Carol. She greeted us and then gave us like the little introduction to the garden, gave us a little map or whatever. And I just remember her New England accent was just like, the only thing that would make it better would be a bar. And it was the cutest thing. She was mad sweet. And I just thought it was just so romantic that my man found me a garden that was created by a man who wanted to give his baby a gift. So it was beautiful. Totally enjoyed it. Really nice neighborhood. And it is definitely something to stop and visit. So again, we ain't stay long. We actually didn't even go. We didn't bother getting food because we knew that we were going to be doing oysters once we got to Maine. So it was just like, haul ass, bring me to the oysters. We didn't bother stopping, but Fuller Gardens, 10 out of 10, would highly recommend if you're going to be passing through. It's not out of your way, is the point. Um, if for whatever reason, wink, wink, nod, nod, shoulder, shoulder, hip, hip, you decide to follow this itinerary so that you don't have to think about what you may want to visit on your next vacation. Okay. But if you make any plans to go north and you're going to be passing through that area, I would absolutely recommend stopping. It's a really nice time. So New Hampshire was short, but I have finally visited. And then we made our way back to Portland. We visited Portland, Maine, I'd say a year ago at this point. Last time we went was in the summertime. This time we went to our old, I'm old. I've been once. We've both been, I think, the one time. But when we were there the last time, I think we went 2 or 3 times to both of the locations. The shop, which has the absolute best oysters, hands down. Also wild cheap. Like the most there are like 6 different oysters and they're all like $1.95 a piece. They're very inexpensive. And then there are just a handful of other options. They're like canned fish options, which sounds wild, but just check the menu. They actually, I get it. I get it. Not for me, but I get it. I'm here for the oysters. And Rathskeller. Rathskeller is a bar in Old Port. Let me tell you something. Those fucking fries and those wings. The fries, I ate his whole order of fries. Had half of my wings. Bought the leftover wings back with us because I think I ordered. Yeah, I think I got an order to go because they were that good. And baby, perfect late night snack. I ate those fries were so fucking good. I feel like they may have been sweet potato fries. Delightful. A dream. Highly recommend Rathskeller. Fantastic bar food. Like the food is good and then it happens to be a bar. A dream. So definitely recommend those 2 spots in Portland. Now the Airbnb that we chose is nothing to write home about. There was actually a group of friends that was staying, I guess, in the unit below us that were so adorable. I'm actually that kind of person that randomly compliments strangers. So as we were coming in, they were coming out. And I feel bad for the first guy because he comes out and she's like, hey. And then one of the girlfriends comes out and I'm like, oh, okay, dress. You look so cute. And then another friend comes out, okay, jumper. Y'all are so pretty. Ha ha ha. Thank you. Oh my God. Da, da, da. And then the other guy came out. I was like, bro, I like your shirt. So I was like, y'all look so cute. So I gave the last 3 of them, like heartfelt compliments, and then had to wrap everybody together because I didn't want the first guy to feel bad because he didn't look bad, but everybody else looked great. But they were mad sweet. They went out, did their thing. And the Airbnb that we stayed in particular wasn't really anything to write home about. It was clean. It was pretty much orderly. There just was a lot of finishes that were missing. Like there were weird floorboards in some areas. Like you could tell that like certain furniture or pieces were put over unfinished things. And it was just like, okay, it's really giving like somebody lives here or like should live here as opposed to this being a rental. But the place was clean. The bed was comfortable. You're really staying there for the neighborhood. We stayed in Munjoy Hill. 10 out of 10. Highly recommend. The houses themselves, exterior, gorgeous. We could see water. I want to say if we stood on the corner, we could see the water maybe a block ahead of us. And then to the right, we may have had to walk 1 or 2 blocks up, but then it walks straight to the water. So water everywhere. And speaking of water everywhere, right on the water was it Fuller Park? Fort Allen Park. Such a good time. And by a good time, I'm talking like, I like to just sit in parks and people watch good time, or just, I like being in parks. I love a good park. I don't really need much to have a good time. So we're clear. But Fort Allen Park actually has a lot of shit to do also. There's almost every kind of field. There was a softball. I don't think there was a track field. There was a basketball court. There was, so I might be lying to y'all. I don't know that there was a handball court. May or may not have been, but there was a tennis court. tons of courts, kids park. There were walking trails, and there was, I believe, well, there was also a 9/11 memorial. I think there was a memorial for one of the wars. I don't know if it was World War II or Korea. No, I feel like the Korean one, what may have been in Salem. I don't know. Oh, also, cute little fact about Salem. One of the I think it's called the Commons Park or Common Park or something like that. But it's not quoted, but oh, what's the word? Credited as being the birth of the National Guard. A bunch of volunteer firefighters showed up, started practicing some drills, and I want to say 2011, 2016, something like that. I feel like it must have been 2016 or so because I'm pretty sure it was part of the Obama administration. Am I wilding? Let me see what that, because don't have me up here. When was the Obama administration? I can't see what I'm spelling here. Okay, yeah, so I wasn't wilding. 2011 and 2016 both fall in that window. So I believe that it was in that window that it was like officially recognized or noted that that is what they were crediting that area to be. But Fort Allen Park in Portland, great time, walking distance from the Airbnb, and it's actually right by cruise port, so you can see the cruise ships if you walk down to the water and look to the right if you're walking down the street where the Airbnb is staying. There are also a ton of yachts and smaller boats and, excuse me, tons of boat activity to pay attention to. Fun, fun. What else was going on? Tons of space to lay out. Look to be a lot of decent parking. There's a couple of spots like in a little enclave in the park, but then there's tons of parking. And it's a coastal park. So it doesn't necessarily extend large, like square wise or anything like that, but it runs along the coast for, I don't know, let's say we walked at least 6 blocks of it. And then we looped back around to be like, okay. But all of those were included along that area. There's also a kids park, slide, swings, all that jazz. So tons of options, space to lay out blankets, have some picnics. Um, there is a walking path that's not the hiking trail or like the wooded walking path, if you will, but like a paved walking path. Obviously, the sidewalk on the one side and then a path on the other side, right by the water. So lots of things to do. Uh, High key really enjoyed, and like I said, there seemed to be a ton of parking in the area also, as well as also walking distance from that Airbnb is a really cute diner. I feel like they do brunch every day, and they're mostly, I don't want to say they're mostly a brunch spot, but I feel like the website is just like the brunch spot. Like, you know what I mean? Like they know that that's where people are really showing up for. I feel like they also do dinner service, but I feel like they only do dinner service on like 1 or 2 days of the week. So that's kind of like we're the brunch spot. So that it was a cafe this way? No. Front room. The front room is what it was called. This is why I write notes. Um, Fantastic service and really good food. I love when we were out of New York and New Yorkers find each other because I think I was asking for, I don't know if I ordered an omelet because I feel like that's what I would order because that's generally what I order for breakfast food. But I was ordering something that came with cheese and I asked them if they had Havarti. And he was just like, "You from New York?" And I was just like, "Yeah." And he was just like, "I haven't heard Havarti since I left home." And shout out to him. He's married now because I feel like when we were there, he was getting married in 2 weeks. Woo woo. Hey boo, hope you enjoyed your wedding. But yeah, love when New Yorkers find each other. Highly recommend the front room. Food was good and the service was a dream. So that was Portland. So the same spot again. Portland did not disappoint on the food. For some reason, I feel like there was one other spot, but there probably wasn't because we knew what we wanted. When I tell you Rathskeller, oh my God, the food is so good from there. Did not disappoint, but Portland was a great time. Oh, another thing that we did this time that we didn't do last time was there's an I'm about to say an outhouse, a lighthouse. There's a lighthouse, also walking distance from Fort Allen Park and the front room, that Munjoy Hill area. A lighthouse. Believe it is free, and if you want a tour, it might be like $5 or $10 or like a donation based kind of sitch. But boyfriend went to the store across the street, and so I decided to get out the car and just look at the lighthouse. I really just wanted to read the plaques and stuff, but then I realized, oh, you could just go inside. Let me see if I can see anything from here. And I want to say the way they have it set up is so that it's like a little visitor center on the inside, and you, I believe, either have to pay or sign up for a tour. I don't know specifically. I was only there for a little pop in and visit, but it looked so cute inside, a little local history, and it was a really fun little thing to pass by. When you're going on a walk, pop in. Local history. It's always a fun time for me. Next stop we did was Surrey, Maine. Now, this was the Airbnb. This was similar to our Vermont trip where we knew we was going to just be in the woods, boot up. It was gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. It is a really, really, really beautiful accommodation. It's just in a the the great thing about this spot was you can't necessarily see your neighbors, but you know your neighbors are right there. Like when you're driving past, you can see like their driveways. So like if you look through the trees, you can see the next property. They were doing a lot of construction there, so it was a tough call whether or not like people lived there or whether they were there while we were there. Like we heard people coming and going one of the days. And on the other side, we didn't hear anybody and we couldn't see the property either. But we also knew we could see the driveway from the road. Now, these are, when I say driveways, these are just like holes into the jungle, not the jungle, but into the forest, the woods. Like these are just openings. This is like when you are going on the road trip and you are in the middle of nowhere and it's 2 lanes, barely a yellow line. No, they had a yellow line. But it's just like one of those back kind of country things. Like you are a bit off the main road and you drive down like a 300 foot driveway to the property that is completely covered by trees from the road. Like you can't really see the house from the road. Like if you are driving past and you look, you can be, you know how you're driving and be like, oh, that's a cute house. Like, but it's because you're the passenger and you just like caught it while you're driving by, that kind of thing. Anyway, quaintly secure, private, you're kind of to yourself. And the accommodations were beautiful. There were wild turkeys that kept like appearing in the morning. Shout out to them. They probably also scared us at night. And also, since we're on the shout outs, shout out to the prior guests and to the proprietors. No bugs in the house. Might have found like one daddy long legs, but especially being out in the woods, all the bugs were outside. And baby, them spiders were spidering. You hear me? They were there. There was like a real big, ugly, like scary motherfucker, like up 3 feet away from the door. Terrifying. They have a beautiful fire pit and nice little patio furniture. Not sitting on it because we're in the woods. The bugs. I did a little precursory recognizance, and it's a no for me. I saw all the spider webs behind the chair and was just like, you're not sneaking up on me. Popped out our foldable chairs from the trunk, and those were where we sat when we sat outside because it was beautiful weather. So the property was gorgeous, had everything that we could need, perfectly situated, didn't have to worry about any neighbors or anybody. And when I tell you, we, y'all, the food. First of all, blueberry is Maine's main bitch. Like I don't know if it's like forever blueberry season there. I don't know what it is, but Maine and blueberries, get into it. I like blueberries. I'm not like overly committed to blueberries. He loves blueberries. I like them. Not necessarily looking for blueberry flavored anything per se, But one of my coworkers, God bless him. Thank you so much, G. If you ever hear this, hopefully you don't. But thank you so much. And I've told him since for putting me on to all the blueberry because, baby, delicious. Blueberry pie, blueberry soda. What else? Blueberry popcorn. Maine has blueberry on lock. Chokehold. You hear me? Foot on neck. Deservedly. Everything was delicious. Everything was fucking good. The lobster in Maine, exactly what I expected. Exactly what I expected. We ended up doing this exact same meal twice. Shout out to the adults at Perry's was the name. Perry's Lobster Shack. It's on the water. They have meal service like on the dock that goes out into the water. Cutest thing. We opted not to because one, we didn't really want to drive on those no light having ass roads and the deer be in the road because on the way there, we missed our turn, went a little bit past, and then did like a U-turn, like in front of a deer. Like, thankfully, the deer came out before we got near. We didn't even go as far as where the deer was. We were making our U turn beforehand. However, when we went around the little bend and then, I don't know if the deer came out first or there was a deer in the middle of the road. I was just grateful that it wasn't in the middle of the road that we were currently driving on. Um, so finally found my deer. I think I don't know if this was the trip where I saw a ton, like, I feel like I may have seen deer because I always look. I'm a passenger princess. I have nothing to do but to look out the windows and make sure my man is good. So I'm always looking for the deer and I saw them this trip. They was out there. So be alert, head on a swivel, pay attention. But we opted not to stay and eat there because we did not want to drive the unfamiliar roads in the dark. And it was perfectly fine sitting there to wait for our food to go because they've got this gorgeous little seating area where there are like these swinging chairs. They've got like a fire pit, but without it being like a large, it's just a really nice little fire um pit thing. And there are other chairs around. They come bring you your food. We didn't wait too long, maybe like 15 minutes. The adults, there was one woman that because we went twice. The first night we went to, she was mad chill. She was so sweet. She wrote the directions and a little smiley face and stuff on the blueberry pie. Heat up for 30 seconds and enjoy. Everything was packaged so nicely. Beautiful. Beautiful. Second night we went, and the children were in charge. They didn't do a bad job. You could just see the difference. Like, you could see the care that was put together. And you know what? In fairness to them kids, I don't know if it was one of the kids that was not in the back. Like, it could have been another grown adult in the back. Don't know. Don't know. But I know there was a difference. And the second night we went, like, the lobster was just thrown into the bottom of the bag. Like, there was a piece of cardboard, then the lobster. The first night we had the lobster in a container. Shout out to the adults. Needless to say, didn't really fucking matter because both nights, divine. Divine. The best lobster I ever had in my fucking life. Did not need butter. The shit was delicious on its fucking own. Bare ass. It was so fantastic. And we spent $61. Let me scale it back. So the meal itself was like $61. I ended up spending like $83 because we got the whole lobster. I want to say maybe corn and potatoes. There was something else we got. Blueberry pie. I got a blueberry soda. There was something else we got. And mussels. The mussels was mad good too, y'all. The mussels were so good. And I'm not even a mussel girl. I eat mussels. Don't get me wrong. I prefer mussels to clams. I'm pretty sure. They were so good. Like, really good. And usually fair to Midland. I can very easily be disappointed with mussels. Them bitches was good. So good. And for that meal to only have been $61 for a whole lobster, like mad clams, I feel like there may have even been a piece of garlic bread. I didn't feel like I got played. I did not feel like I got it. That money, the well spent. Everything was absolutely worth what we got. And then the second night, we even got a clam chowder. Now, the clam chowder was, I won't say overpriced. I would not be spending $21 for like 8 to 16 ounce. It was not even like as large as I was expecting for $21. Um, excuse me, we intended to just split the clam chowder. We knew why we were here. Very much for the lobster and the mussels. And that blueberry pie was so good. My God. But the clam chowder was a bit of a disappointment, only, not in taste, just in price. It was just a lot for the size that we got. I would have expected maybe like $11 for the size that we got. That's what I would have expected. But I don't know how many fucking clams y'all put in there, or I don't fight people on the price. You either gonna buy it or you're not. And I bought the shit. And it was good. I just won't be spending $21 on clam chowder again. But the shit was good. We also did so Surrey was like a pit stop for the next stop, and the next stop was Acadia National Park. I heard about it from a coworker, and they were telling me, it's kind of far up there. So when you go, you stop someplace else, yada yada yada. Like you don't just drive up to the park to go to the park. And I got her point. It's like 7-8 hours away from New York. So of course you're going to stay someplace else. And that's why we stayed in Surrey at that gorgeous cabin. And in that same area, and because I kind of disappointed myself. So the one thing that I knew I wanted to do that I dropped the ball on was booking tickets to visit Cadillac Mountain in Acadia National Park. So Surrey was about 25, 35 minutes or so away from the national park. And that's why we stayed there. And you have to either, I forget what the window is, maybe 90 days or so, but they only release, I don't know, 10% or 30% of the passes that they are going to release in terms, it's a timed entry. And so you can purchase a pass to enter the park, and you have to be in the park within a certain amount of time from there, I think. Long and short, they limit the number of people because of the parking options. Cadillac Mountain is, I believe, the first spot. I don't know if it's in the country or just on the East Coast that the sun hits when it rises. So I wanted to go there and catch the sunrise. Missed the window. Couldn't book the tickets. They were already sold out. And by sold out, I feel like it might have been like a $5, $15 admittance. There's also a fee for the cars. More on that in a second. But missed out on that. Was really bummed. But then, my man is a problem solver here. Y'all, winning. So he found a public park, which actually turned out to be like a public beach that was right next to Perry's. So we'd already been in the area twice. And it turns out, because while we got to Perry's, I'm like, mind you, again, it's on the water. Remember I said that? I was thinking to myself, what if we come here and watch the sunrise? I wonder if because the seats, like where that little waiting area. So it's kind of like on the road, if that makes sense, right? There is no entrance to the restaurant because the restaurant doesn't have an indoor space. It's just seating on the dock. And so we're not sitting on the dock. We're sitting like on their property. I wasn't fucking with it. I'm Black. We're in New England. I don't know these people. I respect personal space. I respect private property. And part of me wanted to ask her, like, listen, if but the thing is, the lady that we had kind of built that rapport with, I don't know that we had necessarily considered or knew that we had missed the Cadillac Mountain window or not. But I wanted to kind of ask, like, listen, if we wanted to just come watch the sunrise, can we just park up here and sit on these chairs? Because they were like really nice, comfortable, those wood rocking chairs that people put in their yards and shit. But didn't do that. Turns out, not a problem. Just down the road, like you can see it from where we ended up finding, was that public park / beach. And they had like a little drive-in little space that you could pull off the road. So that's what we did. We missed out on Cadillac Mountain, but we had the most beautiful view of the sunrise that was right by where we were staying, literally 6 minutes from where we were. So we didn't now have to wake up at some ungodly hour to drive like 45 minutes to an hour to get to Cadillac Mountain and to kind of find a spot and settle in. You know what I mean? Like there were going to be so many steps to viewing Cadillac Mountain. And this is what I mean about like leaning into the pivot. Things go wrong, right? This actually ended up going better. I appreciated the fewer steps. I appreciated no further headaches. We drove right back where the fuck we were, backed into the little spot, and we watched the sunrise over the mountain. Over the water, mountains in the background. It was absolutely gorgeous, beautiful. No one obstructing our view, nobody else there. Closer to the full sunrise, a couple had come, parked, and jumped out with their two dogs and went down and walked along the water. We probably could have gotten out and just found our way down and walked along, but I couldn't figure out where the fuck we was going to come back. And it was early. So we sat there, enjoyed the sunrise. It was absolutely beautiful. That was, and it's called Newberry Neck Beach. It's very tiny, little parking space, maybe space for like 4 to 6 cars max, maybe 4 cars max. Let's be real. I could be wrong. Maybe 4 to 6. 4 to 6. But it's a little small, little parking alcove, and you just walk down to the beach. And that was really nice. So beautiful sunrise. 10 out of 10. Do not regret not making it to Cadillac Mountain to see the sunrise. I don't know if I want to mention regret now. Probably a great time to bring it up. So I made quite the impulse buy. I knew that we'd be in dark sky area and that I love the stars. Everything celestial. Love everything about the night sky, moon, stars, comets. All of it fascinates me. And so I was thinking, we're going to be in Acadia, especially if we're going to go up for this sunrise. Yeah, it's going to be totally fucking night. Let's bring some binoculars. So I was looking up binoculars, and they should have never told me that telescopes, depending on which one you get and kind of features and all that shit, you can see a fucking galaxy. Sold. So I bought a telescope, and we tested it out at my parents' house, and I don't think I figured out the appropriate way to use it. It's very difficult. That's another conversation to be had. This has been going on long enough. But long and the short, I spent all that money on a fucking telescope and ain't see shit. Why we didn't see shit was while we had beautifully dark sky in Surrey, and I'd say a couple of the areas, Surrey, we anticipated having the best clear, like dark sky, not necessarily clear. I can't control the weather. Shout out to the weirdos that feel like certain political parties do control the weather, but what do I know, right? But while we anticipated the dark sky, what I didn't necessarily know to be a concern with telescopes is, especially like larger ones, which the one I got wasn't really small, portable, fits in my trunk. So it's not worst case scenario, but it's not like something you just throw in a backpack, right? It's large. We set it up, but then there was but a circle of sky. And so while it's a beautiful pocket of sky for us to look up, it's not exactly the best for telescope use, because then a lot of the trees are like kind of blocking you. So the way you kind of have to set it up, because of course I got the one with the bells and whistles, and I got one that's supposed to have a mount that tells you what the fuck you're looking at. It like syncs up with your phone and aligns, compute, robot. Welcome to the future technology, right? I was anticipating and expecting so much. I don't think I'm using it appropriately, but it's supposed to be able to tell you what you're looking at is like, what star is this? Is this a constellation? If I'm looking for a particular star or constellation, it's supposed to not aggregate, but identify where you are and then tell you where to point the telescope so that you can see what it is you actively are searching for. So had all these features. I don't know how to use the features in fairness to the telescope. Um, so to be honest, I can't say if it was a telescope. I'm not even going to say I can't say. It's probably a me thing and not the telescope thing. And between the two of us, we did our best. We did our best. Um, on top of not being that fluent in telescope, there are a couple of different other issues that kind of get in the way. So if you are considering a telescope, um, look into it. Learn from me. Look into it. I'm still looking forward to trying to use it again. Um, my parents have a huge backyard. I love it. So there's opportunity. But the setting it up and it's a lot, y'all. But also scary as fuck out there. You can't see shit. Everything is pitch black and you're in the middle of the woods. So there are animals, the noises. I don't know if it's an animal. I don't know if it's a person. I don't need to know what it is to know that I need to take my ass inside. So we went out. We had set the telescope up during, when there was more light, when we could see what was going on. And also because you're supposed to identify something a certain distance away and then identify it through like another viewfinder. So many steps. Also, that's another thing. There's like a red dot that's supposed to help align things. The battery for that fucking died. Only the second time I've taken this shit out the box and the battery is fucking dead. So very disappointed on that. Telescope didn't do me any favors in that respect. I am assuming we can change the battery, but neither here nor there. I was too scared to kind of stay out and be on the telescope for too long. We probably could have moved the telescope to another location. We may have been able to move it like closer to the roads that we had more open sky to kind of navigate through, but wasn't doing all of that in the pitch black. That's another thing that I underestimated, which that Vermont property though that we went to, that would be the perfect spot to do it because there was such an open clearing that you didn't necessarily had to be too far from the property to have a more expansive view of the sky. So that's something to consider. You feel like just because you're in the middle of nowhere, you'll be able to access so much of the sky with the telescope. But when you're surrounded by trees, that really just kind of puts kind of barriers in the way. So there's that on that. Acadia was fantastic. We had a beautiful trip that was helped by All Trails. I downloaded the app. I used the free version. We only did the one trail, which I believe was Jessup Trail. Acadia was kind of like a drive-through. Speaking of drive-through, I said I'd come back to this. There is a fee to get into the park. However, somehow we did not go into the park through one of the entrances that has one of those payment booths. So you're supposed to get like a long piece of paper to tape to your window so that park people don't give you a ticket. We didn't come in that direction. I don't understand why that is like a penalty to me. Why put the booths at all your entrances, right? If you want your monies, do your thing. But we ended up, let's roll the dice. Balls to the wall, give it a shot. We made it this far. It don't make sense to kind of go anywhere else. We were looking for a couple of different paths. It was kind of hard to navigate in the park in terms of driving to the path that you wanted to take. But we ended up finding Jessup, parked the car, and there is no parking either. Like you're kind of just on the side of the road and you're kind of beholden to trusting that whoever parked there before you knows that this is an okay space to park in, if that makes sense. You kind of just make it up as you go. Did the trail. The app really I enjoyed it. I can't say that the app like gave us directions because the trail is very clearly marked. We chose an easy trail. I wasn't trying to get surprised. It was nice to see old people on the trail too. There was a man out there in his walker. We got stuck behind him. Take your time. Take your time. I love seeing you out here. Enjoy this nature. We'll wait. Like, I was on vacation. What am I in a rush for, you know? But the trail was nice. It was a drive through. We weren't going to be there all freaking day because we had already been up from wild early, and we had driven through like, and also had to drive out through the park. So we're going to see more of the park on the way out as we did on the way in. It was a good time. We actually did Bar Harbor first. After we left the Airbnb in Surrey, we had to go through Bar Harbor to get to the park. So we stopped there, which is also Maine. We stopped there, got breakfast, Cafe This Way. Really cute spot, really sweet service. Food was, I was bad, but I personally don't. I didn't like love my food. I barely ate my food. Um, but boyfriend loved his, so you know, to each his own. I feel like he's made me better breakfast, like running out the door personally. But the service made up for it, and it's a really cute little inside. We sat outside to eat because the weather was perfect, but really cute spot. And it is in like a very town center kind of touristy space. It's short stores and shops and all that kind of shit. That's where I mentioned the blueberry popcorn. I think it's just called Bar Harbor popcorn. He saw it first, immediately intrigued. You don't have to sell me twice. Let's go. We got a tub of popcorn. I think we spent like $11 on like a small, and it's maybe like a gallon. Like, you remember the Neapolitan gallon size ice cream? It's about that size. Um, so that was blueberry popcorn. Mad good. The guy that was selling it, mad sweet. Everybody in New England, very sweet. I was anticipating old money, stush. What are you doing here, colored pauper? I was not really expecting welcoming. I was not expecting the people being so fucking nice. Everybody was so friendly and warm. I loved it. I love being wrong about stuff like that. I really liked the New England people. Really, and not overly like the, um, but like it was a, because you know how down south it just feels like, hey there, hello, hey, how are you, good afternoon. It was like that, but like in a up north fashion, if that makes sense. It wasn't giving like the southern hospitality or the southern charm that a lot of people down there give. It was a very northern friendly kind of waving. Loved it. So the people in Bar Harbor, really sweet. I got my Maine sweatshirt. Always wanted one of those. Also wanted one that says Salem. Very, very high key disappointed. That totally blew my mind. We were in the middle of downtown Salem, surrounded by every fucking store that you could think of. So many spots where I could have popped in and grabbed one, but it just wasn't on my mind. I was having a good time. I was in the moment and just enjoying myself, that I didn't think about buying souvenirs. And I really just wanted that sweater. But I digress, because we're going to go back and I'm going to get my sweater. And there are other things that we'll do in the area. But trying to wrap this up for y'all. Acadia was gorgeous. The trail was great. Really cute people. Bar Harbor was fun. Blueberry everything. Um, Keep in mind that if you're going to go to the park, I don't know if you can buy entrance. I don't know if you can pay your entrance fees before you get to the park. I feel like everybody wants a way to take your money. So it's possible that you can buy your ticket beforehand, but you have to print the thing and put it on your dash, unfortunately. So there's that. I do recommend All Trails. I enjoyed the app. It gives you like photos of what the different trails were. So I knew based on like what views I was seeing, like, okay, this looks like I'll enjoy it. This is really cute. There's nothing here. I've seen stuff like this. We're going to skip this one. Let's try this one. So I appreciated the app for that, because it gave the options, and it also gave real people commentary, like people that use the app comment like, oh, this was a really great trail. And then it tells like when they walked it. So you can see what may be in bloom, what animals you may see, what views you might get. Is it going to be, is this a time, a season for when the water's going to be frozen? So you don't even get to necessarily appreciate the greenery and the shimmer and reflection of the water, whatever the fuck. But I enjoyed the app for those aspects so that you know what you're getting into beforehand. Also, it tracks your walk for you so you can see what path you take. And on the back end, you can see like the distance that you went, and also if you needed to backtrack. Also, I think we actually did break out the app to use like the map to figure out how much further there is to the trail. Also, we had gotten to almost the end, and it like opens up into like this really gorgeous view of like the water and stuff. And we can tell from the app that it's just like, oh, so you mean like it's another maybe 100 feet or 200 feet like to the left, and we got to go across all those stones to get there. We good. We don't need to do all of that. Thanks to the app. So I would recommend All Trails for you guys. Not sponsored. I just enjoyed it, functionally, user friendly. And this is all like me trying to figure it out on the go. Also, I had opened it up maybe like the day before, or maybe like yeah, it had to have been the day before, just to see like what trails I wanted to plot so that I would know how far into the park we have to go time wise, what's a waste of time, like what am I playing myself, that kind of thing. Um, Tons of options and features in the app, and you could even do the paid version that unlocks a whole lot more. And I believe you can also share your location with someone. And I feel like that might be a paid service, but I'm pretty sure that's there. The bathrooms were clean. We ended up walking. It was along I'd say midway, or at least, yeah, we were walking along the Jessup path, and there was not necessarily, I guess, a ranger station, but there's like I don't know what to fucking call it. It was ranger station, but it had stuff for like kids to do. It had information about the park. I bought a patch, um, maps, two rangers inside, informational, ask questions. She was one that told me about like the parking and all that kind of stuff. We ended up going to the park and leaving the park without having to pay. Um, Not like excited about that. Love to support the national parks. But it just wasn't, when we came in, there was no place to pay. When we left out, there was no place to pay. So they could have easily had my money, but just keep in mind that's a thing. So if you're going to go, and if you intend to maybe do more than one trail, or if you intend to spend like an extended period of time, I feel like we were out of the car and back to the car maybe in an hour. I don't even think it was 2 hours. So roundabout into it. But the bathrooms were clean. I feel like the bathrooms at different restaurants that I'd been to were more disappointing than this national park ass bathroom, public park bathroom. Okay. So, and it was right off of a parking lot. So, everybody's running in real quick before they start their trail or on the end of their trip or whatever. Very pleasantly surprised. The bathrooms were clean. And so, wrapping this up, the final stop that we had on our trip was along the way home. So we did all of those steps beforehand, like the Rhode Island and the New Hampshire, where we didn't stay overnight. They were just little stepping stones to break up the drive. On the drive home, however, we kind of like took off a much bigger bite, and we only made one stop, and that was in Gloucester. We stopped in not Gloucester, the way it's spelled, but in Gloucester. Shout out to my brother who lives in New England and let me know before I got up there and embarrassed myself. So the Airbnb in Gloucester was the number 2 choice. Now, Salem was mad chill and gorgeous, but Gloucester had it beat. There were so many tiny little touches that made it, oh, they love this place. There was this insane garden in the front. So you've got maybe 2 car lengths between like the street and the front of your house. Is like a tiny little cottage that's attached to their house. And then there's like this little small bathroom size, little back space. So there's space to sit in the front, beautiful gardens that they have, beautiful gardens full of bees. And such a nice little spot to have coffee, which we did. And then there is another little sitting space in the back of the house. Also, mad chill, mad cute, highly, highly recommend this location. The bed is upstairs in like a little loft nook, if you will. Like it's not a traditional or like a full second floor. Again, it's like a little cottage attached to the house. So the bedroom is upstairs and it's just the bedroom. You walk up, you're right in there. The bathroom is downstairs. Really nice fixtures, really nice finishes. Actually, a really nice bathroom as well. Gloucester, we're actually going back to Gloucester. We haven't booked it yet, but I definitely want to visit Pioneer Town in Salem. That is where they filmed the old timey portions of the movie where we were introduced to one of my favorite characters, Thackeray Binks. Um, so Pioneer Village, definitely going to visit that. Got to go back to get my Salem sweatshirt. And we just want to stay in Gloucester again and have more than just the night because we drove in. We got there maybe like 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock or so. So it was another late night. And we popped in there, woke up the next morning, and then had to leave, unfortunately. So we stopped, had our coffee, went for a walk around the neighborhood. Again, people ridiculously nice, people driving by. And when I tell you, this was like, this was giving maybe old money or maybe even new money. I don't know, but the niggas got money. These are coastal homes. These are right on the fucking water. This is giving like, I don't even want to walk down to the water here because I think this is like your driveway. Like I there were a couple of little spots where it's just like, is this like public access? Can like we walk to the water here? You got people that set up like nice little chairs, seating areas. The gardens and the yards are all up, like the sidings and just the homes are so well maintained. And the people were so fucking nice. People driving by in the car, waving, a little small talk. Great weather. It's just beautiful. Y'all have a good walk. Really loved it. Really, really loved it. And we ended up when we got there, we drove and we did get there around 8:30 because I remember this restaurant was closing. I believe the name of it is Azorian and oh, it's missing me. I think it's Portuguese food. Y'all, the food was so fucking good. Like, and mind you, we didn't go in. We just placed our order over the phone and took it to go. I went through the menu because passenger princess, so I was paying more attention. I read the menu to him, and he was just like, "Just ask them." So I chose what I wanted. Don't remember what I got. And then when I called, I was asking them, "Do you have any recommendations? What are you good at?" He recommended like 6 or 8 different things, and his boyfriend was just like, "All right, just do this one." Y'all, his food was better than mine. It was like a pork and clams. I think it was either pork and clams or pork and mussel. I never would have put the two together. So fucking so good. So definitely going back because I definitely want to go inside. He parked the car, ran inside to go get the food, and he said the vibe inside was so cute, really nice, and that I would like it. And I'm looking forward to going back to be able to sit down and have my food there. Really enjoyed that. The neighborhood was charming. The people were really nice. Apparently, there is well, the the Airbnb in Gloucester is literally on a peninsula. So you're surrounded by water on 3 sides. So there's tons of water that you can walk down to. However, the next day, right before we checked out, actually after we checked out and then like drove around the corner or something, just move the car out of the way. And we ended up trying to find the beach that the host was detailing, but I didn't have the guide that the host provided in the Airbnb to be able to tell us like where it was. And like I was saying before, there's a lot of private property and it's kind of difficult to see what is private and what's not. So I was looking at what was like a map, but it was not a real map. It was just like, you are here, you're going here. So it was kind of trying to navigate, is this somebody's driveway or is this like something that I can walk through? You feel me? So it was given a lot of that. So we didn't unfortunately get to go enjoy the beach in Gloucester, but it's right there. So definitely highly recommend that location. We had a fantastic trip and we ended up driving home from Gloucester. I don't remember how far that was, but that Surrey to Gloucester, Gloucester to New York breakup made all the difference. I feel like the first half of the drive was probably the longest, maybe like 5 hours versus like the 7 or 8 hours it would have taken us to get from Acadia back home. Maybe even 9. Don't know. But beautiful road trip. Highly enjoyed my time. And like I mentioned in the beginning, drum roll, I have road trip itinerary packs. So, this is a little two-parter here for you. I have my traditional itinerary pack, which has been updated, which is currently available for your purchase. It also includes Salem, like I mentioned, the updates to the locations in Portland. And then when we got back from this New England trip, I had my post-op visit. And then, like the next day, we drove to Montreal. There are 3 pages on Montreal. When I tell you we eat good in Montreal, you want those recommendations. So I have an East Coast friendly road trip pack, which is currently available. And those are all going to be different destinations between Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Hartford, Connecticut, Johnson/Burlington, Vermont. It's 2 cities in Vermont, Salem, Massachusetts, Portland, Maine, and Montreal, Canada. So those 7 cities are in the East Coast packet. It also includes a packing list. Everything is clickable, by the way. Anything I recommend, from Airbnb, places to eat, and things to do, all clickable links for you. So you don't have to do any further searching, any further digging. All of the, like, you can go and spend a weekend, you can spend however long you decide to be there. This is perfect for people that are kind of like me. I want to be there for the vibes. I just want some cursory things to do because I don't want to be go, 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 go. You can choose to do some things. You could choose to not do some things, but this is giving you that spice so that when you get there, it's already planned. You can do more, you can do less, but the groundwork is covered for you. Also, a pre-trip checklist, ways to make sure that your car is good and to make sure that you are good before you embark on your trip. So that, along with the clickable links, recommendations like links to all the episodes in the past that I have done about those individual locations, everything is linked there. And that's the East Coast Road Trip Itinerary Pack that is currently available. However, drum roll, trick or treat, I am offering separately the New England Road Trip Itinerary Pack. So everything that I just talked about in this episode is separate and in a New England trip, because I didn't feel like it made sense to put New Hampshire and Rhode Island on there with like the very limited things that are there. However, they are worth your fucking time. Everything that I just detailed in this episode, all clickable links, available in the New England road trip that will be available on Halloween. But trick or treat. You can either get it for free or you can get it for $1. The first 10 people that sign up will get it for free. Everybody else that signs up between now and Halloween get to purchase the itinerary pack for un peso, $1. After that, on November 1st, it goes to $4.99. So if you want it for free, or if you want to pay $1 for it, which is basically free, sign up for the Substack. That's it. And I'll make that available to you on Halloween. But you'll know on Halloween which one it is. You'll either get the download or you will get the code so that you can purchase it for $1. And once you have the code, like, you don't have to necessarily buy it that day. Like, you have the code. Buy it when the fuck you feel like it. However, you also could get it for free. So just sign up for the Substack. First 10 people get it for free. And everybody else gets it for $1. So support me and the work I did. I had so much fun going to all these places. Travel is so much more than vacation. I tell y'all that every week. And this week, it was making preteen me so excited. I have wanted to visit Salem so long. I had never really gotten to experience Massachusetts. I think I went to Boston like on a trip when I was in college selling Cutco. I have wanted to visit these areas for so long, and grown ass traveler me is making the dreams of little me happen. And I am so fortunate and grateful to be able to do these things and to put myself in a situation where I can actualize a lot of the ideations and plans that I had when I was a kid. And I'm grateful that I can bring you guys along with me on the podcast. So, see you guys next week. Don't forget, check out the Substack description in the box below. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.